What's up, guys? Alex Khan here, and I thought I'd just give you guys just a little quick movie update for you guys, because if you guys wanted to go to the movie theaters, you're thinking about a movie to watch. Well, I watch a lot of movies, so I can give you my quick opinion on a bunch of movies that just came out. Maybe these movies didn't just come out, but some of them did. But I saw six movies relatively recently, so I'm going to start with my favorite one. If you guys want to go to the theater, you cannot go wrong if you watch Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick is a sequel to Top Gun, which came out over 30 years ago, starring Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, etc., etc. This is the best movie I've seen probably since Baby Driver came out about 5 or so years ago. This movie is such a feel-good movie. It feels like a very innocent time at the theaters. It reminds me of the time when I was a kid. I would go to watch movies and just go there for the fun of it and root for the good guys. So Top Gun Maverick, that is probably the best movie I've seen in years and years, and I have watched that movie twice already. Highly recommend that one. Next one, Lightyear. This is basically a prequel, or it's not a prequel. It's the story of Buzz Lightyear that the toy Buzz Lightyear was based on in the movies of Toy Story. But this has nothing to do with Toy Story. This talks about the character that the toy was based upon. So that said, Lightyear is basically a very standard sci-fi adventure flick. It doesn't really do anything that's completely original. It feels kind of derivative, but it's still a very solid time at the theaters. And if you like sci-fi movies, you can't go wrong with Lightyear. Next one is Jurassic World Dominion. Yeah, this one came out quite a while ago, but it's still pretty relevant. So out of all the Jurassic movies I've seen, this is easily the weakest one in the entire Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise. It's still a good movie, but I did not love this movie. I've loved every other Jurassic World movie. I loved Fallen Kingdom. I loved Jurassic World. I mostly loved Lost World. I loved the first Jurassic Park. I loved Jurassic Park 3. This one, unfortunately, I feel like they tried too hard to cram in action scenes every 5 or 10 minutes. So I just feel like action scenes, action scenes, action scenes, very little exposition. And I think they did a very poor job to developing the story in favor of just putting in and cramming in as many action sequences as possible. Special effects were pretty good. It was great seeing the cameos from the OG Jurassic Park cast. But that said, yeah, there's too many action sequences. And I feel like they sacrificed the plot in order to show more action sequences. Next is Black Phone. Black Phone is a horror movie starring Ethan Hawke and some other people. If you're a fan of Universal Studios, this will be a house at Halloween Horror Nights. This movie is creepy, and it's a Blumhouse movie, so this is going to be part of the Blumhouse house for Halloween Horror Nights this year. So it's going to be freaky and Black Phone. If you don't know the story, go watch the trailer for this movie, and you get a basic gist of what you're gonna see. But what you don't really understand is just how creepy the villain is in this movie. It is the creepiest villain I've seen in a while because it's realistic. The villain's realistic. What happens in the movie is not realistic, but it's a pretty good time if you like horror movies, especially if you want to do some research on what the Halloween Horror Nights house is gonna be. Next is Thor, Love and Thunder. All right, so as a kid, I grew up reading the Thor comic books. The last two Thor movies, Ragnarok and Thor, Love and Thunder, this is not the Thor that you read in the comics. They have turned Thor into a clown. They turned him into a buffoon. But if you ignore just how unfaithful this is to the comics, then this is a very fun action comedy. If you view it as an action comedy, you're going to like this movie. I love this movie as an action comedy. It was very funny. But if you're here looking for the God of Thunder, you are not going to get the God of Thunder. You're going to get the God of Blunder. He is such an idiot in the Thor movies. But that said, it's still a good time at the movies, but I just wish the MCU would have stayed true to the comics and made him a serious Thunder God. But it's still a very fun time at the theaters. Last movie I saw recently is Elvis. This is basically a biopic on Elvis Presley, and as you guys might not know, I have visited Tupelo, Mississippi, which is the birthplace of Elvis Presley, and so seeing this movie was kind of spiritual for me. This movie is fantastic. Although the first hour was very erratic in the way that they edited the movie, it was just bam, 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 sequence after sequence. It was random clips just kind of thrown together. It felt very chaotic for the first hour, but after the first hour, the plot started to show itself more, and the movie calmed down, and I was able to appreciate what the movie had to offer after the first hour. The first hour was kind of bad, to be honest. I felt like I was on an acid trip. That's how I felt watching the first hour of this movie. But that said, once you get past that, it becomes a really great biopic. And the guy who plays Elvis, he nailed the personality and mannerisms of Elvis. He nailed it so much. He might not look like him, but once you start watching this movie, you're gonna forget that this guy doesn't look like Elvis. But you're just gonna believe that this is Elvis. So that's my little movie update for you guys. If you want to go to the theaters, those are my recommendations. Top Gun is definitely on the top of those recommendations. So boom. Tell me your thoughts on these movies. What movies are you planning to watch? What movies are you planning not to watch? What movies do you recommend that I should see myself?